here in this region, and our main focus will be on the science behind NLG. So in the past, I have talked about various topics, and there are some topics more relevant and more important than others. So today, I will highlight more about how we are all connected, and later on, I will show a scientific experiment that really is a bit mind-boggling because it just doesn't make sense, right? This is where quantum science comes in. So there's a lot of things that we as humans, still until today, we are grappling with the knowledge of our creation, the knowledge about how and where and when creation started. So if you look at the science, they tend to agree at this point in time, because as we also learned that at various points in time, science agree on certain things, but then they change, right? So as I've said before, last time, people thought that the Earth was the center of the universe. Then they changed their mind. Then Earth was flat. Then Earth became round or spheric in its shape, And then they thought that the sun was the center of the universe. Then they changed their mind. And then thought that maybe the Milky Way is the center of the universe, and they changed their mind as well. So the reason for that is because as we advance more into the future, we have more tools to assist us in measuring and also explaining and hopefully getting some signals from the universe and being able to understand and decipher all these complicated explanation from the signals. And yes, so science now has sent probes, I think the most recent one will be the WMAP, which is pretty good for its time. Then it was replaced by the Planck, probe sent by the European Space Agency. So yeah, so let me start off with the most acceptable theory in science, which is the basically the Big Bang theory. All right. So let me just get this thing out of the way, and hopefully I can explain this slowly and clearly so that all the viewers today who are logged in can understand. And yeah, recently in the last class 1, I was quite happy when I had a comment from a young lady and towards the end of the class 1 teaching, and she said, well, she wouldn't have continued with the class 1 because her mother kept, pestering her. And I think she lived in the US. And her mom kept pestering her. And then in the first day of class 1, I talked a little bit about the science. And that convinced her because it resonated with her thinking as well as a young person. And so I'm glad that, I'm able to touch on one person's life, because of sharing about science. And maybe there are more of you out there, that whatever I have to share with you, you can also do your own research. But if it resonates with your way of thinking, then hopefully you can come in and practice NLG with us and enjoy the benefit of what NLG has to offer. So the most accepted theory right now is the Big Bang creation theory, all right? So this is the website, space.com. And this is, okay, before I show you this, maybe I'll just go down and show you another one and then take it from there. Okay, this one here. So this is through the WMAP, as you can see, as well as the Planck probe, and they have more or less concluded that this is the model of the Big Bang. So the Big Bang all started with everything and energy all like became so small, like a grain of rice or a pea, and then it just exploded immensely. And when it exploded, this is where you have the inflation. And the inflation is where the energy from the photon, the explosion, they are faster than the speed of light. So contrary to our Albert Einstein, who stated that the speed of light is the fastest, but no, according to modern scientists, ahead of Albert Einstein now, but you gotta give credit to Albert Einstein, that was a long time ago. The inflation period is where the explosion, the speed, it happened, is much, much greater than the speed of light, all right? So that went on for within seconds, very fast. And the afterglow, right? The afterglow occurred for around 400,000 years. So this afterglow, if you look at, I'll show you a bigger diagram of the afterglow because the probes have been able to plot it out, right? They call it the cosmic background radiation, right? The cosmic background radiation. So they were able to put the whole thing in proper perspective. This is the early universe, all right? Even though it happened, because it takes billions of light years for us to receive it, where we are. So what happened billions of years ago, we can still see it, all right? And they agreed that, at that time was 13.7 billion when WMAP went to measure the cosmic background radiation. But when Planck probe was sent, after WMAP, then they adjusted this figure to 13.8 billion. It's okay, just a fraction, right? So we're not going to dispute on that. And so after the afterglow, temperature cooled down on the universe, matters were able to be formed. And as matters were formed, then, mostly it's hydrogen, gases, helium, a bit of lithium. But, as the universe expanded, right, it's Big Bang, the force is expanding. Right now, even as we speak, our universe is expanding, right? So things are getting further and further apart. Galaxies are getting further and further apart because of this inflation push that even though, it was at the early stage billions of years ago, 13.8 billion years ago, until now, it's still, the force is still expanding the universe, or as what we know now. So here in the universe, as you can see, these gases and particles, and then they form atoms, and they combine to become molecules, they become stars, they become planets, they become galaxies, and then they explode, and then scattered all over. So some of these are like oxygen, carbon, other elements were formed in the periodic table in chemistry, as we learn, and some of them came to planet Earth, right? That's why we have iron, we have gold, we have all these things. There were, some people say it's stardust, right? So it exploded from the stars and it came to planet Earth. So that's basically what happened during the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. And well, there's as much as we can see from the light, right? There's still a significant portion of it we don't see. And that's about 95% of it is the dark matter, all right? And this dark energy, dark matter, we can't see, so we don't know what they are, really. We only see what we can see from the light. And that's only about 5% of what we know of the universe. Right, so there's still a lot of unknown. This is the basic thing that the scientific community can accept at this point in time. Let me just highlight now this one here and just read it out for you. Just be patient. All right. Around 13.7 billion years ago, everything in the entire universe was condensed in an infinitesimally small singularity, a point of infinite denseness and heat. There was no time and space. All right. At that time, it was singularity. Suddenly, an explosive expansion began, ballooning our universe outwards faster than the speed of light. This was the period of cosmic inflation that lasted mere fractions of a second. Can you imagine? All right. Yeah, so that was what happened. And when cosmic inflation came to a sudden and still mysterious end, the more classic descriptions of the Big Bang took hold. A flood of matter and radiation. So when the universe cooled down, then particles, matter started to form. And reheating began populating our universe, stuff we know today, particles, atoms, stuff that would become stars and galaxies and so on. This all happened within just the first second after the universe began, when the temperature of everything was still insanely hot. Can you imagine? At about 10 billion degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. You'll be toasted immediately, right? According to NASA. The cosmos now contains a vast array of fundamental particles such as neutrons, electrons, and protons, raw materials that would become the building blocks for everything that exists today. Now, so you can just imagine that this creation, it didn't, if the temperature wasn't right, the particles would not be formed, the atoms and the electrons would not have been there, and that would mean that you and I would not be here. So when you look at the Big Bang and what happened after that, well, it's pretty amazing. I would say it's pretty amazing. And I come to a conclusion that everything happened by design, and there is a creator who did all this. All right, there is a creator who did all this, and he's just watching the evolution and the changes and the transformation and the creation of Earth and also humankind. And if you have purchased Mr. Lee's latest best-selling book in Amazon, you will get to know all about it. All right, it is all linked. And according to Mr. Lee's book, that's how the universe and planet Earth and the lowest form of DNA, a life form in planet Earth, was created more than 3 billion years ago, because the creator used a part of him, which is a subatomic particle carried by the angels to planet Earth. And that's how with that subatomic particle, the DNA, it gave life, the lowest form of life. And when the lowest form of life, they die, they get reincarnated, they slowly move up into the highest form of life, which is human beings today. All right. So it ties in with what Mr. Lee, the revelation given to him by the angel to explain all that. So I am more scientific than Mr. Lee, but imagine for someone like Mr. Lee, he's also talking about the science, right? Cosmic particle. He's talking about we are all connected through vibration frequency in his book. So I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. And yeah, so when you put everything together and it starts to make some sense, right? And that's what, yeah, we are hoping to enlighten all of you. Okay, so sorry, I forgot to highlight this background cosmic radiation. So here we go again. And this is how the, yeah, this part here, this thing that you see right now, right, is the background radiation left from the Big Bang. So it's like around 400,000 years old. So this is what was created. And if you look at the other one that I shown you earlier, right, this one here, I want you to get a good picture of how it all ties in. Okay, so from this diagram here, the afterglow pattern, 400,000 years. So this, yeah, this part here is what I am now showing you, is what the probes have been sent into outer space to measure, to look, and to get a good picture of what this cosmic background radiation can tell us about the universe creation, and hopefully give some insight of what's happened and what's going to happen, right, in the future for our planet and also for our universe. So it's a very interesting, thing. But if you trace back, we started from energy. photon, the Big Bang, inflation, and then cool down. Then we have other particles being formed, and then atoms are being formed. If atoms are not formed, atom is what? Neutron, proton, electron, right? So you look at everything around us, right? Everything is pulled together by gravity. So is the atom. The atom is also pulled together by gravity. The galaxies, the Earth and the Moon, you know, everything is pulled by gravity, all right? So the law of matter is particles forming, you know, they combine, and everything is pulled together by some invisible force, which is the gravity, right? And that's why when these particles from the early part of the universe happen, and the particles combine because the temperature was at a conducive temperature for this thing to be glued together in a way, right? And that's what it leads to the early stars and galaxies, and they exploded, and then, you know, they went on into other, you know, for example, some of these subatomic particles found its way to planet Earth. And also you find that we are stardust, right? A lot of scientists have said that we are stardust because we are matter. Yeah, you can see, you know, but if you break it down, our flesh, our blood, our everything, right? We are made of atoms, right? And then when you talk about the human body, more than 90% is what? Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and phosphorus, and so on, right? And that's why it's very interesting because, yeah, we came from these elements that were present in the universe, in the stars, right? And also, if you trace it all back, it originates from the Big Bang, the original energy. So in a way, we are all connected, you know. And also, interestingly, the recent experiment of the double, you know, twin photon experiment, where in 1997, the University of Geneva, Dr. Jisin, he sent one photon 7 miles north, another photon 7 miles south. And these photons came from one mother photon divided into two, split into two, right? And the mass of these two will equate to the mother photon. So it's a twin photon experiment. And when these two photons reach the end of their journey, 7 miles north and 7 miles south, they manipulated one photon and the other one reacted. So it's a bit spooky because there is no contact between these two except for the fact that they came from the original source. You know what I mean? So if we all came from the original source, so we're all connected. So something is done onto this can also affect us. And vice versa, something done onto us can affect others. So the thing is that, do we know how to connect? That's another thing. You know, do we know how to connect? So in NLG, yeah, we teach you how to connect in a way. First is we teach you how to connect to get the healing from the universe. So we can be connected to the universe, the original source, the energy that everything was derived from, including us and all living things, right? And from there, the healing starts to happen. And we also practice the 5 forms of love. And that's why I'll talk about that after Mr. Lee's transmission. And right now, I would like to show you one experiment, which is a bit weird, all right? It's in a cartoon version. I hope you don't mind. It's about 4 to 5 minutes, just in time for us to play it before Mr. Lee's transmission. So enjoy it. It's called the double slit theory. And it's very interesting. 5 minutes.
And here we are, the granddaddy of all quantum weirdness, the infamous double slit experiment. To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter, act. If we randomly shoot a small object, say a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit. Now, if we add a second slit, we would expect to see a second band duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out, striking the back wall with the most intensity directly in line with the slit. The line of brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So when we throw things, that is matter, through two slits, we get this, two bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum. An electron is a tiny, tiny bit of matter, like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream through one slit. It behaves just like the marble, a single band. So, if we shoot these tiny bits through two slits, we should get, like the marbles, two bands. What? An interference pattern. We fired electrons, tiny bits of matter through. We get a pattern like waves, not like little marbles. How? How could pieces of matter create an interference pattern like a wave? It doesn't make sense. But physicists are clever. They thought, maybe those little balls are bouncing off each other and creating that pattern. So they decide to shoot electrons through one at a time. There is no way they can interfere with each other. But after an hour of this, the same interference pattern is seen to emerge. The conclusion is inescapable. The single electron leaves as a particle, becomes a wave of potentials, goes through both slits, and interferes with itself to hit the wall like a particle. But mathematically, it's even stranger. It goes through both slits and it goes through neither. And it goes through just one and it goes through just the other. All of these possibilities are in superposition with each other. But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided to peek and see which slit it actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one slit to see which one it went through and let it fly. But the quantum world is far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of two bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring or observing which slit it went through meant it only went through one, not both. The electron decided to act differently, as though it was aware it was being watched. And it was here that physicists stepped forever into the strange never-world of quantum events. What is matter? Marbles or waves? And waves of what? And what does an observer have to do with any of this? The observer collapsed the wave function simply by observing.
So isn't this experiment interesting? The fact that the electron, right, when it's not being watched, it gives the interference pattern, just like the water, the waves, right? And when it is being watched, it acts like a particle behavior. In other words, it just forms two lines. in the double slit. So this is something that science still cannot explain, right? There's a lot of unseen forces. There's a lot of unseen things. That's why the quantum mechanics, quantum science, quantum physics comes into play. And they're also going to apply that into quantum computing, right? So that the power and the capability of the computers in the future will also be very powerful, right? And can solve things much, much quicker. So this is something that, you know, as I said before, science has its own time to explain certain things in life. And certainly from this experiment, we can maybe conclude that there are certain rules. There are certain rules in the unseen world. There are certain rules. So you comply with certain rules in the unseen world and certain things happen. But if you do these other things, then these other things will happen. So there's a lot of stuff going on out there that we have no clue what they are. But if you have a chance to grab a copy of Mr. Lee's, you know, The Common Denominator, that book, it will reveal so much to you that you will then understand and be enlightened of our creation and what we need to do to make things better for ourselves, not only in terms of health, but also in terms of other things that may lead to better life, you know. And it's quite, you know, I don't know how to say, but if you look at this thing here, this is basically talking about, you know, the number one killer in the US is heart disease, right? Heart disease is the number one killer right now in the United States. 1 in every 4 deaths in the United States is related to the heart. Isn't that scary, right? I think it's scarier than COVID, you know, right now. And the thing is that in NLG, we practice healing the heart, right? So if you don't believe in anything else, at least believe in one thing. By healing the heart alone, your chances of survival and having a better health is so much greater already, isn't it? And we focus on the 5 forms of love. And the 5 forms of love is love yourself, love your family, love your nation, love humankind, and love all living things. So if the practice of morality is based on love, your heart will be happier, you know what I mean? And those people who attend my class 1, I usually teach them how to unload all the negative emotions that's probably happened in the past, but we kept it in our heart because we were hurt, you know, and we don't know how to let go. And sometimes in life, it involves maybe even family members. Quite often, actually, people who love us can hurt us the most. Am I right? So it's learning how to forgive, learning how to let go, and learning how to love people. Because most people, when they practice self-love, is loving themselves at the expense of others, right? And that is not correct as well, because the correct way is to love humankind. All right, so I'm going to switch now to the Vietnamese live stream, and you can all get the wonderful healing energy. Just sit down, relax, look at the forehead of Mr. Lee, and let that energy soak into your forehead and into your brain. And that is the healing energy from Mr. Lee and also a few hundred class 4 practitioners. They're all doing this group transmission at the same time. So I hope that this will help you and you'll feel better, and I'll come right back and talk a little bit more. All right, so enjoy the energy of Mr. Lee.
Rất là vui. Và để hiểu hơn cái cách nhận năng lượng thì quý vị nhớ rằng là tất cả mọi người khi đến với năng lượng gốc, mặc dù là chưa học một chương trình nào cả, thì chúng ta vẫn có thể là nhận được cái nguồn năng lượng an lành này. Chúng ta hãy theo dõi clip ngay sau đây để chúng ta hiểu cái cách đón nhận nguồn năng lượng an lành vào lúc 9 giờ sáng. Và mời quý vị cùng theo dõi.
Vâng, kiến tạo hạnh phúc của Energy Trống Đồng Việt Nam. Mời quý cô bác anh chị cùng đón nhận những năng lượng an lành từ chú Phúc. Khi chú Phúc nói bắt đầu, quý cô bác anh chị nhìn vào trán của chú Phúc, hình dung nhận năng lượng từ trán của chú vào trán của quý cô bác anh chị và để năng lượng tự lan tỏa cho đến khi chú Phúc thông báo hết giờ.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our NLG live stream. Mr. Lee would like to send the NLG energy to the beloved audience. When he says start, please look into the middle of his forehead and imagine you are receiving NLG into your forehead. Then just relax and let this loving energy absorb to your body for 5 minutes and 30 seconds until Mr. Lee says done.
Vâng ạ, cái cách để đón nhận nguồn năng lượng an lành này thì cũng rất đơn giản đúng không ạ? Bây giờ chúng ta sẽ cùng mời chú Phúc cũng sẽ cùng lên chia sẻ với các quý vị. Con xin mời chú ạ. Vâng, chúng ta đợi một chút ạ. Thưa quý vị là vào cuối tuần này thì chương trình lớp 1 sẽ diễn ra vào thứ Bảy và Chủ nhật ạ. Vâng, vào lúc 20 giờ 30 phút. Con mời chú ạ. Con xin mời chú.
Rồi, chú chào tất cả anh chị em. Chào gia đình của anh chị Lan và anh Thành. Bây giờ chúng ta đã đến giờ để tiếp thu phần năng lượng rồi. Bây giờ chú mời tất cả anh chị em cùng bắt đầu nhé. Chúng ta bắt đầu.
Thưa chú hết giờ. Mời chị Gấm tiếp tục nhá.
Rồi,
Right, we're back, and I hope that all of you have received this wonderful energy just like me. And this is something that I look forward to every day, because those of you who are practitioners, as I have advised you in my class, you receive your own self-healing stem cell stimulation. And then if you can, receive the healing transmission by Mr. Lee. And 6 hours later, you can practice your own self-healing. And that would be the optimum. That would be the, the best that you can do for yourself. Because, a lot of times we wake up and we start worrying about what are we going to do with our work or tasks or things to be done. But the first thing we need to do is do something for yourself. Don't you agree? I mean, this is your time, you need to be healthy, you need to live, you need to have a good health in order to pull you through the day, right? So a lot of people, sometimes the misconception is that they think they are healthy, nothing is wrong with them. Look, I'm walking, jogging, I'm fine. But we don't realize that there are already things, that may lead to symptoms of illnesses. It's already in our body, right? Well, scientists already say we all have cancer cells in our body. It's when our immune system is low. That's when the cancer cell starts to overcome, right, our immune system, and that leads to different stages of cancer. So when we practice NLG, it's not that we have to be sick. It's just prevention, right? So when you raise your frequency, that's where you find one thing. Whenever you go to a hospital or visit a sick person, you find that their energy is very low, isn't it? So what you want to do is, when you practice NLG, your energy level will be raised. So when your energy level is raised and it's high, then all the sicknesses will not be able to attack you or overcome you. And as I've shown you earlier, the number one killer disease is heart-related problems in the United States. And I guess that's quite true for the rest of the world, right? It's always a heart-related problem followed by cancer. Okay, if you check and Google it, that's what you will find. So why not do something for yourself? Love yourself, love your family, embrace love in your life, right? And get rid of all the negative emotions, stress, all the negative things in your heart. Delete them, all right? Imagine just like a computer, you're able to press a button and delete it. Just delete it, all right? And once it's no longer there, it's like a virus in your body. Get rid of it, right? If you have a computer, you want to get rid of the virus, same thing. Your body is the same. It cannot function optimally if you have all these negative things inside of you. So you have to transform and change. Sometimes it's a bit hard to imagine or to follow what I say, because your energy is so low. If you're in depression, you're in anxiety, your energy is so low. How are you going to get there? Well, everything starts with a small step, isn't it? So you build, you practice, you build, you practice, you build, you practice. You're slowly climbing up the ladder of frequency. And then one fine day, maybe a week or two or month, depending on each individual, and your energy level is high enough, right? Then it becomes very positive. Everything is like possible. And suddenly you look at yourself, all your diseases and illnesses starts to heal by itself. Isn't it amazing? So that's the beauty of NLG. And like I said, science can only explain so much, right? There's a lot more that we do not know. Mr. Lee, in his book, talks about the intelligence of mankind. If creator is 100%, we are not even 1%. Are you with me? If the creator in intelligence is 100%, we are not even close to 1%. So we are so far in terms of our ability to understand everything. So what I'm suggesting to you, as much science as I try to explain to you how we are all connected how you can utilize this energy from the energy source, right? The Big Bang, the source, and so on and so forth. But maybe sometimes it's just going with it, trying it out, right? And then experience it. Okay? Because if you look at ancient people, they have that wisdom. They practice it. It's just that humans in the Renaissance, I think the 12th to 14th, 15th century, people start becoming intelligent in the sense that they want to find out everything before, they want to have an explanation for everything. And ever since then, our mind and our heart has been separated. Everything is thinking, but too much thinking can kill you. Do you agree? It's our mind that really, causing harm to our body sometimes. Why? Because of the consciousness. Things are happening around us, we have no control. And if you don't know how to fight them, all these things go into your conscious mind, affecting your subconscious as it prolongs. And this will harm your whole body, right? But if you know how to deal with them, and how do you deal with them? Love. Use your heart. Because your heart radiates 100 times more powerful electromagnetic field than your brain. So use your heart, the thinking heart, with 40,000 neurons, the thinking heart. Use it. Practice it together with emotion and control your brain. Don't let your brain control your heart. Let your heart control your brain. All right, guys? So use your heart, control, work together, heal your body. Right? And how you do it? Get the energy. Get the energy. I hope you enjoyed today's live stream, guys. And just a quick announcement. Class 2 will be on December 18. It's only for one session. And I hope you have a wonderful day and good evening to all of you in America, Canada, and good afternoon to all of you in Europe. And good morning and have a wonderful day to all of you in Asia. Come and thank you so much.